Okay, so now we're going to define our project, which is the crucial pre-production period, so that we know what we're building for this game. I mean, we've got requirements from the scenario, so we kind of have a good idea, but we haven't really defined it enough to actually get down and plan all those individual things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. Now, we're not actually going to show all those individual things here. It's going to be stay high level, just major systems or scopes of work. So when I say scope of work, it might be like all the props in the game, or all the the terrain texturing, that kind of stuff. So first thing I'm going to do is define the project. So this is where we've got the concept artist. So what we're going to do with the concept artist, we're going to use him for a 4-week period up front, which is what we defined. I'm going to separate his weeks out, and the first thing I'm going to do is help us with our vision documentation. So as we are defining in a written form what our project is about, that elevator pitch and all those kind of things we're going to use in our pitch document, he's going to provide the visuals for that, and that's really going to help all the artists and designers define how they're going to build things. It's going to give them sort of like a creative springboard to go from. So that could be like a major boss battle sequence, or not boss battle, just a major battle sequence, and it shows what the characters look like, what the environment looks like, how a battle sort of plays out, that kind of thing. Probably do a lot of thumbnail sketches really quickly to develop a lot of concepts and ideas, but then do a couple of major, really nice illustrated pieces for that, and we can use all this in our pitch presentation. So the second week, I'm going to get him to focus on characters, which I want to define the player character and the enemy characters within the game. So we do like character sheets, which the character artist will use to model his characters. And then in the next week, he can focus on levels. So again, he's defining the environment, what things look like, the color of things, and a lot of little details. And then in the last week, I'm going to get him to focus on props, which are all those things: health pickups, chests, everything, crates, things that are scattered around the environment. So he's really helping to define things for our team. So while he's defining these things, he's working with, or while he's creating the concept, he's working with the team members for what they need to do, and this is where the major documents in a game project come into play. Things like the game design document, and look, I'll start making our key down here, which is our abbreviations of the terms we're using. So GDD is game design document, which the designer is responsible for. The TDD is the technical design document, so the GDD will inform the technical design document in the program as what they need to build to support the design of the game. And then there's an art style guide, which again is informed from the game design, and it might define we want this kind of effect, and we can't create it without a bit of programming help, which then the TDD has to define how we're going to create that effect in conjunction with the artists. Other things that abbreviations we'll probably use is white box. White box is a term used for creating all those initial objects sort of in this period that are placeholders for the final good-looking ones. They don't have normal maps or textures or anything. They're just rough shapes that can be used to quickly iterate on things and develop the fun in the game. We'll also be using the term QA obviously a lot, quality assurance, and within QA there are things called the daily acceptance tests and the milestone acceptance tests, and these will happen continually throughout with our quality assurance tester. So every day he'll test the overnight build, if there is one, and make sure it's good to hand out to the rest of the team so that they get all the new features and things that have been added. Maybe it's new tools, or a new level that's been added by the designer, that kind of thing. And then obviously the milestone acceptance test happens just before these major milestone periods, which we'll define a little bit more visually later, where everything's locked down and we're just trying to get that build stable. So he's continually testing it every day through that week to make sure that it's good to send out. So who works on these different documents? Well, game design is going to be primarily the game designers. So what I'm going to do is just block out big chunks of time. I can just copy that chunk and paste it all the way down here for the moment. because this is all about defining. So primarily the game designers are going to be working on the GDD, or the game design document. The artist is going to be working on the ASG, or the art style guide, and the programmer is going to be working on the TDD, the technical design document. Sound engineer is going to be working in defining all the game sounds. So that sort of happens within, I mean, there could be a sound style guide, but pretty much, that can be implemented into the game design document. And the tester, well, he's kind of defining, how the build server is going to work and all those, because he's an IT specialist. He's going to be doing a lot of kind of IT work up front and testing how that's, the bug tracking system and all that thing is going to work, and how he's going to plan out his milestone acceptance tests and that kind of thing. So that looks all very straightforward, but it's not as simple as that, because what happens is the game design document informs the technical design document, and so does the ASG, the art style guide, informs the technical design, and the game designers work with the art style guide in defining what the environment's like and the game spaces. So what I'm going to do is, these are their primary functions, but also they're going to be working on other things. This guy's going to be doing tools as well, and in fact I'm going to give him a very specific period of time to do that. So he can start working on the TDD later in the project. Actually, I'll put him right at the end there. What he's going to do is, in this scenario, perhaps this is a game team that isn't brand new. They've worked on a game previously, and they've done a whole prototype that didn't work, and they've done a what's called a post-mortem of that game development process, and they found the things that did work and didn't work, and they worked out that they didn't have the right tools. It was very hard to get the model from 3ds Max to UDK, and they had so many models, and basically management tools or game design tools that they needed to do. So in this early period here, I'm going to get this guy to work on all those things that were missing in the last project. So he's going to test, or he's going to make all those tools, and at the same time this tester has something now to test. So as well as working on the IT up front, because we've got a whole lot of new computers and systems to build, he's gonna test these things. So up front, while this guy's still sort of working on tools, he's just going to do the IT, but once these tools start to get made, they need to be tested, and so this guy can test those tools. Let's go back to the sort of crucial guy in this planning process, which is the game designers. I'm going to consider these guys kind of on an equal footing. Both of them are going to have an equal sort of say in how the game design comes out. Obviously they're focused on different systems, but they'll be working very closely with the TDD, and in this guy, the technical guy is going to be working closely with the programmers in helping define things for the TDD. This level designer is going to be working closely with the artist in defining, what the levels and the artwork is going to look like for game design. And in the same respect, this artist is going to be working on the game design, the level stuff with the designer, as will the prop guy. GDD, there we go. This guy here, probably not so much. He actually will spend a lot of his time planning. What tends to happen is, we're defining everything, but as soon as this next milestone hits, everybody wants to go. We want to create our combat system, and we need a character running around, and we need some, combat moves. So this, more often than not, the character artists and the animators will build white box versions right up front. So I'm going to call it white box characters. And that's characters and rig and all those kind of things. So these are really, really low quality versions, not like quality, low poly versions without all the texturing and the fancy stuff. They just define the shape of the character and get it all articulated, and start making some animations to implement in the next period there. And as you can see, I'm running out of space. So what I might do is select all these cells, just drag them down a bit, and that will sort of expand all those cells. Yeah, that's a bit better. And I might use word wrap as well. So I need a little bit more space there. Okay, that's probably good. So yeah, the sound designer is also obviously going to be working on the sound design. which you could be composing a piece of music, or working on special sound effects that are going to sort of work for the game. He's basically defining the things that he needs to build based on the requirements of the game design document. So that's it. We've kind of planned out, we're going through the process of defining our games, and things that will happen here are things like competitive analysis. They'll play other games, see what worked and didn't work for this particular game genre, and instead of making those mistakes again, they'll learn from those mistakes and plan it out in their game design. So it's sort of defining even more detail the requirements that we need to make sure that we plan consistently. And this period here, actually, because this is pre-production, so the milestone, this could be called pre-pro production. Because there isn't actually anything built, it's all mainly written form other than these white box characters. This particular week is going to be all about planning for this next milestone, and possibly planning for further ones, but all the individual tasks that need to be done to complete whatever we need to deliver at this milestone. So I'm going to change that to plan for the rest of the project. And now if you're in a cell and you hold down Alt and hit enter, you'll go down to the next line, and then we're going to estimate. So that's estimating how long what the tasks are and how long they're going to be. And then we're going to schedule those tasks. So we're going to schedule all the low-level stuff, and that might be in another program, like Handsoft Project Management, or in a Microsoft project, that kind of thing. We're going to keep this very high level. So that's pretty much it. That's what we're going to do in our pre-production period, is define all those things that we need to do, and create all those very essential documents that help us define our project.